Why is reading in English so important? Hello, everyone. If you're watching this video, you've probably asked yourself at some point, why is reading in English so important? Maybe you're just starting to learn English, or you've been learning for a while and want to improve. Whatever the case, you're in the right place. Today, we're going to dive deep into why reading in English can make a huge difference in your language learning journey. Trust me, by the end of this video, you'll want to pick up an English book right away. So, let's get started. Why reading in English is important. First of all, why is reading in English important? Does it really make a difference compared to just listening to people speak or watching videos? The answer is a big yes. Let me explain why. When you read in English, you're not only learning new words and phrases, but you're also seeing how these words fit together in real-life contexts. This is super important because learning English isn't just about memorizing individual words. It's about understanding how those words work together, how sentences are built, and how ideas flow. Think of reading as a window into the language. Imagine you're building a house. If you only focus on learning vocabulary, it's like collecting a bunch of bricks. Sure, you need bricks to build the house, but if you don't know how to put them together, you won't get very far, right? Well, reading is like having the blueprint for that house. It shows you how to take those bricks or words and turn them into something meaningful like a conversation, a story, or even an email. How reading improves your vocabulary. One of the biggest benefits of reading in English is how much it improves your vocabulary. When you read, you come across new words all the time, and you see them used in different situations. This is much more helpful than just looking at a list of words and their meanings. Why? Because when you read, you get to see how words are used, not just what they mean. For example, imagine you're reading a sentence like, "The weather was dreadful, so they decided to stay indoors." Maybe you don't know the word dreadful, but from the rest of the sentence, you can guess that it means something negative since they decided to stay inside. Now, you've learned a new word, not by memorizing it, but by understanding it in context. Reading also exposes you to collocations, which are words that are commonly used together. For example, in English, we say make a decision instead of do a decision. These little details can be hard to remember if you're just studying a textbook, but when you read, you see these word combinations naturally and get used to how they're supposed to sound. Over time, this helps you sound more like a native speaker. Boosting your pronunciation. Did you know that reading in English can also help with your pronunciation? I know it might sound strange because reading is usually a silent activity, but if you practice reading out loud, you'll be training your mouth to pronounce English sounds correctly. It's like a workout for your mouth. When you read aloud, you practice the rhythm and flow of English. You also give yourself time to focus on how words are supposed to sound. The best part? You don't need anyone else to practice with. You can do this by yourself. Start with something simple, like a short story or even a children's book. The more you practice reading aloud, the more confident you'll become in speaking English. Understanding grammar naturally. Let's talk about grammar. I know it can be a bit of a headache sometimes, full of rules, exceptions, and things that don't always make sense. But guess what? When you read in English, you're learning grammar without even realizing it. For example, take the sentence, "She has been working here for 2 years." If you read sentences like this over and over in books, articles, or stories, you start to get a feel for how English grammar works, especially tricky tenses like the present perfect continuous, asterisk has been working asterisk. You might not even notice that you're learning grammar, but your brain is taking it all in. This is called implicit learning, learning without actively thinking about it. When you read, you see how native speakers use the language correctly. Over time, this helps you understand things like verb tenses, prepositions, and sentence structure without having to memorize a bunch of complicated rules. It's like learning by osmosis, just absorbing the language naturally. Exposure to different English styles and accents. Another reason reading is so important is that English is a global language spoken in many different countries. The UK, the US, Canada, Australia, South Africa, and many more. Each place has its own way of speaking English, with different accents and even slightly different words. When you read books or articles from different countries, you're exposed to these different styles of English. This helps prepare you to understand English in various contexts. You also become familiar with informal language and slang. Not everything you learn in a classroom is how people actually talk in real life. By reading novels, blogs, or even social media posts, you'll see how English speakers really communicate. This revised version ensures the flow of ideas is smoother and that the language is clear and grammatically accurate. Let me know if you need more.